All right, we're going to start today with MLB, the playoffs. After expanding to 16 teams in 2020, MLB returns to its familiar 10-team postseason format this year, starting with the Boston Red Sox victory over the New York Yankees in the American League wildcard game. The Red Sox went on then to shock the Tampa Bay Rays by defeating them 3-1 in the ALDS series, while the Houston Astros took care of the business against the Chicago White Sox in the other. Then going to the National League, the Los Angeles Dodgers had a walk-off win in their wildcard game against the St. Louis Cardinals, and then they won an epic 5-game NLDS matchup against their rival San Francisco Giants, while the Atlanta Braves secured a second straight NLCS appearance by limiting the Milwaukee Brewers in 4 games. Now, here we are, as we sit here right now, the Houston Astros have a chance to knock off the Boston Red Sox tonight in the ALCS, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, they saved their lives again last night. They live another day as they beat the Atlanta Braves last night. I think it was 11-2. And the Atlanta Braves, and it's a 3-2 now series in favor of Atlanta, but lots of stuff to still happen. And Ryan Walterman, he is not here today, but he had this to say for his take about the potential World Series matchup.
All right, so as you know, we have 4 teams left in the playoffs for the MLB. We have the Atlanta Braves, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we have the Boston Red Sox and the Houston Astros. 2 of those teams, Boston Red Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, are wild card teams. Do I think either of those teams will make the World Series? No. And the reason is because Boston has got hot. They were one of the hottest teams in the postseason. And man, they just got very cold at the wrong time. And I think the Astros may be getting hot now. The Astros have a really good bullpen. I think that the Astros will be able to hold on. They only have to win one more game as they're up 3-2 in the series, now going back to Houston. So they only have to win one more game, which I think they'll be able to do at home at Minute Maid. Then the other series, I have Atlanta Braves moving on against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think the Braves have better hitting. They're getting good hitting from Jack Peterson, Austin Riley, and their bullpen's really stepped up this series. So I really think that it will be the Braves and the Houston Astros in the World Series. The Dodgers will give a push. I could see them making it maybe a 6 or 7, but I still think that the Braves get this thing done at the very end of that series, and they move on to face the Houston Astros in the 2021 MLB World Series.
Okay, there is Ryan Walterman's take on the potential World Series matchup. As we saw last night, the Atlanta Braves last night did not look very good. The Los Angeles Dodgers, Chris Taylor, he had 3 home runs last night. Pretty damn good game for him. The Dodgers now are only down 3-2, and Atlanta could have actually swept the Los Angeles Dodgers if you think about it. But that did not happen. So, Ben, let me start with you here. Do you agree with Ryan's potential World Series matchup?
I actually do have the same matchup that Ryan does. I'll get to that in a second. I'll start with the Braves first. If I'm a Braves fan, I do have somewhat of a pit in my stomach because realistically, this series should probably be over. In Game 3, they were up 5-2 in the 8th inning. Bellinger hits the game-tying bomb, and then Betts puts them ahead. Their bullpen blows that one. And then last night going in, they're facing Joe Kelly, so it's a bullpen game for the Dodgers. And the Braves are starting their ace, Max Fried, and they take a 2-0 lead in the first inning off a Freddie Freeman home run, and then it just completely unravels from there. And this is an Atlanta Braves team that blew a 3-1 lead in the NLCS last year to the same Los Angeles Dodgers. So they were up 2-0 and then 3-1, and now it's 3-2 going back to Atlanta. So I do think there's some sort of a pit, and if I'm a Braves fan, I'm feeling a little bit nervous right now. I'd be interested to see what the odds are going into Game 6 of each team to win the series. So I do have the Braves, though, coming out of the series. I'm going to say in 7 games. Here's why. Okay. In the next game in Atlanta, we got Max Scherzer versus Ian Anderson. I think Max Scherzer pitched a really nice game. He has not had the greatest postseason thus far. The wild card game was meh. He was really good against the Giants, and then another meh one against Atlanta. So Scherzer, I do think, has a really nice game and pitched them into Game 7. No Justin Turner is huge for the Dodgers, and the Braves are getting Jorge Soler back. So I just don't think Atlanta has it in them to blow a 3-1 lead back-to-back season, especially back 2 games at home coming up. They'll have the home field advantage, and I have to think they'll get 1 game. Dodgers push it to 7 is my prediction, but Braves, I think, even though they couldn't close out last night, I think that would have been huge if they had, but I still have the Braves advancing. And then to the American League.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there. I want to ask Mickey about the National League first. So, Mickey, we go back to Game 6. We go back to Atlanta. Do the Braves get it done in Game 6, or does it go back to L.A. for a Game 7?
So I want to lead this with baseball is such a hard sport to predict with this small of a sample size. Like you can do season predictions and pretty accurately come out with what's going on. 2 to 3 games are such variant based on from game to game, and even starting pitching doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but like you see, like the Giants against Scherzer, they win Game 3 against Scherzer, and then the Dodgers come back and beat them in a bullpen game. That being said, if I had to go with my gut, I cannot trust the Atlanta Braves right now. They have blown too many leads. They're just prone to this stuff. And the Dodgers are just too good, even without Turner, even without Muncy. They're going to hit the ball so hard on every at bat and grind out at bats and draw walks. And I think they're gonna send it back to Atlanta. They already have sent it back to Atlanta, but they're gonna take these 2 games on the road coming up. And I hope they don't. I'm a Giants fan. I really hope they don't. But that's just I've seen this too many times.
All right. So going to the American League now. Houston can end it tonight against the Red Sox. I want to ask you a question here, Ben. So you got Eovaldi starting for the Red Sox, and you got Garcia starting for the Astros. Who is going to come out on top tonight?
Tonight, I have the Boston Red Sox. Ryan mentioned it. The Red Sox have probably gotten cold at the worst time. They scored 3 runs in the last 2 games. Ironically, right after Eduardo Rodriguez did the mocking the Correa celebration. I don't think that's the reason why, but it's just a funny thing to think about. I think Eovaldi has the advantage tonight. Luis Garcia has not pitched well this postseason, and even though it's in Minute Maid, I still expect the Red Sox to be competitive enough to get a win. Yordan Alvarez for the Astros, I want to talk about, is absolutely raking. I know you asked just for this game. I still have the Astros winning the series in 7, but I'm taking the Red Sox tonight.
All right, Mickey, going to more of the X factor tonight for either team. Who is an X factor for the Astros tonight?
I think it's Yordan Alvarez. I think he just hits the ball so hard. He can hit anyone in this league, and with Eovaldi's pitching, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he can hit anyone. I think if he has 2 to 3 hits, Houston easily comes out with this win. So yeah, I do predict Houston to come out with the win tonight.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Ryan said in his take that it was the Red Sox that went cold at the wrong time. Do you think it's more of Boston's hitting getting cold at the wrong time, or do you think it's just Houston's dominant pitching that's getting them?
I think it's a combination of both, and I think you can't ignore Houston's hitting too. Like they're just such a well-rounded team, and they can hit anyone in this league. Boston, of course, getting cold just does not help, but Houston's just a really good team, and we can insult them all we want for being cheaters, but the fact of the matter is they still have a really good team set up with 5 or 6 all-star caliber players, which is just incredible. Like the talent coming through Houston is comparable to that of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I do think Houston ends up in the World Series this year.
There's players in like the 6 hole in Houston's lineup that could be in the 2 or 3 slot on most other teams. It's such a deep lineup.
All right. Before we end this World Series segment here, I do want to ask both of you this question because this has been a hot topic the last couple of weeks. Carlos Correa is going to be a free agent at the end of this season. Where does he go?
This is tough because so many contending teams right now have their shortstop. If you looked at the landscape of the postseason and the 10 teams, I believe most, if not all of them, had a like franchise starting caliber shortstop. I look to him potentially go back to Houston. Also, a big one is the Yankees. I know they're going to throw a lot of money. Claybar is unimpressed. Another one, surprising, it's been thrown out there. I would not be shocked if the Cubs make a big run at him. They said they want to end their rebuild quick and get a star, and Correa talked about loving Chicago when he was there for the ALDS. So wouldn't surprise me. Do I think it's the most likely? No, but I would look to the Cubs, and I would look to the Yankees, if not going back to Houston.
Okay, so we got 3 possibilities there. Mickey, what about you?
I know which one I like the most. It's the San Francisco Giants. But
So this show is starting to turn into bias. Okay, got it.
No. I will eliminate all bias. I think it's very unlikely he does go to the Giants. They re-signed Crawford. I think I like the Yankees take. I like the Cubs. They have been rumored. I was surprised by those rumors with the Cubs. I think the most likely scenario is that he goes back to Houston. There just isn't that, which is shocking. Like, there isn't that massive of a market for a premier shortstop, which is very weird. Like, of course, you're going to have teams like the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, and who just throw money at everybody and can't seem to have anything stick. I think those teams will throw money at him. I don't know how much you'd want to go to a non-competitive team. So I think Houston is really the most likely scenario to go back to, as not fun as that is. I like seeing players switch teams in baseball. It's just fun. But I think the most likely scenario is we see Correa back with the Astros next year.